Hello, friends. This is Alia Jamal, the love coach, coming here live for another love circle. And today we are talking about healing guilt and shame. Now, guilt and shame is something that every single one of us experience it, most of us on regular basis, and we feel like it's part of human experience. It must exist for us to be able to course correct. Most of us are attached to it. Our identity is attached to guilt and shame. But today, I want to focus on what it is, how it is so harmful, and how can you live without it. In my personal experience, guilt and shame is those pacifiers that we don't want to let go, but at the same time, they end up being those hot coals that are burning our hands. They are damaging us. Both guilt and shame are very, very, very damaging to our psychological well-being. So let's just dig right into it. What is guilt? First of all, I invite you to pay attention to, or just ask yourself, where in my life I experience guilt? Is it in my relationships? Is it the way I look? Is it, what I am doing in this world? Is it my bank account? Is it the house I live in? Like, where in your life do you experience guilt? What guilt is a feeling I did something wrong. When we are having an interaction with another person and the other person said something and then you said something and then you hang up the phone and you just feel this feeling, I think I did something wrong. And most of the people, they use that feeling to guide them to do something different. So they say, oh, guilt is really good. It keeps you in check. It helps you become a better person. Is that really true? That is the first thing we'll be discovering today. Is that really true? Does guilt really help you? But first, ask yourself, where in your life do you experience guilt? So guilt is, I did something wrong. Now, the other side of the same coin is shame. Generally, whenever we are feeling guilty, we are also feeling shame. Whenever we are feeling shame, there's also some hidden guilt going on the other side as well. Most of the time, it's unconscious, it's hidden, so we can't really tell where it's located. Shame is, there's something wrong with me. Now, the way your unconscious mind works, there's something wrong with me. That's why I did something wrong. Since I did something wrong, that means there's something wrong with me. They are tied together. And that is how most of us control ourselves, manipulate ourselves, abuse ourselves. This is exactly the mechanism we control other people, we manipulate other people, and we abuse other people. And those other people could be our kids, it could be our spouse, it could be our sibling, it could be society at large, it could be some random person on social media. And we do this kind of damage in the world every single day, unless you're conscious of it. We are guilt tripping ourselves, we are shaming ourselves without even realizing in our mind most of the time, all day long. And then we say, oh my God, I'm feeling drained. I'm feeling lethargic. I have chronic stress syndrome or chronic fatigue syndrome. All those come from places within you where you're leaking energy all day long because you don't know how to be a different way, how to exist in this world as a healthy human being, as a emotionally, psychologically healthy human being. So now let's look at why guilt is so, I would say, sticky. Why guilt and shame is so sticky. Why do we accept it right away, and why do we um want other people to accept it right away? Where did that started? So nobody know where the guilt and shame started, but I can tell you, go in any spiritual or religious community, most of them, most of them. I have only found one spiritual community so far where there's no guilt and shame. So I would say go anywhere there's a lot of guilt and shame used to manipulate you to follow the ways of whatever we say is God. But if you look at any scripture, you will never find guilt or shame in it. You will find warning, you will find love. It's more like, when your parents say, you better don't not do it, and I love you. There's no guilt and shame. There's no like, oh, since you did this, there's something wrong with you, or since you did this, you did something wrong. There's a lot of mention of faith, there's a lot of mention of forgiveness, but unfortunately, humans have taken those things, we have manipulated that, and we have started using it against each other in form of guilt. So now let's come to, why do you need to, want to, supposed to, it would be wonderful if you could heal these aspects of your inner world. So the most dangerous thing about guilt and shame is, as long as you play with it, you engage with it, someone can control you. And I'm going to say it again, because in my world, this is big news. In my world, this is scary. This is in my world, that is very, very serious thing. Because I'll share with you where my world is. Again, as long as you play with it, you engage with it, you invite it, you share it, guilt and shame lets other people control you. So now this is what happened. That is why I say in my world, this is a huge thing. If someone can control you, if a human can control you, and my friend, that human could be um, a, a leader, that human could be your parent, that human could be your sibling, that human could be your spouse, that human could be your own siblings. If a human can control you, you are not going to live the purpose of your soul. And in my world, that is huge, because in my world, what I teach, what I work on living every single day, I want to make sure I do every single thing in my human ability, in my human power, that I get to discover and live my soul's purpose and path. Because that is a divine task that I've been given. And that is why I came in this world. I didn't come in this world just to get married and have kids and, just leave a bunch of money for my kids so they can say, oh, mommy was rich. And, thanks to the trust she created, we are living lavishly right now. That is not why we came here. We came here to share our light. That light is something was given to us by the power that created us. And if I let other people control me and I don't get to share that light, for me, that's not acceptable. That is the level of life or standard I've created for myself. And you don't have to live by that standard, but the conversation we are about to have is for those people who are at that level of desire, that I will do everything in my power to make sure that light can come out. But if you are letting other people or a system control you through guilt and shame, you're not you're not going to get to share that light with the rest of the world, and the world needs your light. And more than ever before now, the world really needs your light. And it's not that you're going to go out and you're going to shout from the rooftop and you'll be like, hey, here's my light. No, you reveal that light within you by transforming the darkness within you, and that creates ripple effect. Somebody might never hear about you, but the light that you reveal within yourself is going to create a ripple effect that is going to transform the world. That is the invisible impact each and every one of us have. Guilt and shame, they are both darkness. Do not engage with them. I'll show you how to stop engaging with them. So that takes us to the third point, and that is the final point. We'll be talking for the rest of this conversation, how to heal guilt and shame, how to heal it. So let's first talk about, where does guilt and shame gets introduced into our psychology. So most likely you're a little kid, You spilled milk, mom yelled at you, and in that moment, because safety is so important, feeling safe, feeling familiar is so important, we internalize, oh my God, I did something wrong. So what we get used to doing, get used to turning against ourselves when someone outside of us does not validate us. We start to blame ourselves. I must have done something wrong. That's why mom is yelling at me. Oh, it's very possible that mom had no idea how to control her emotions. And she thought that, the best way she can release them is unleash it on a child who is too small to understand that spilling milk is not a good idea. So when we get raised by other adults who have not mastered living without guilt and shame, we pass it on. And I will be very honest, I did the exact same thing when my son was little, when I didn't know any better. I believe he was like about 3, 4. That is when I started becoming more conscious and aware, and I started learning these things. And I think maybe he was 5, and I became really, really aware that I am using guilt and shame to manipulate my child. Ever heard that all your friends eat vegetables and you don't? All your friends are potty trained, but you aren't. Look at that kid, how well they are playing. Why can't you play like them? Those are all guilt we are introducing to the child, and that turns us against ourselves. And that is when a person take their set of darkness and give it to us, and we receive it, and we're like, yeah, there must be something wrong with me. That's why I am doing this. And that gives us a weird kind of, satisfaction. It's almost like we are punishing ourselves and we are justifying that, yes, I am wrong. And some people say, well, if you're not going to feel guilty, how would you course correct? Because they have never learned how to live without guilt. Now, let's talk about what guilt does to you. When you're constantly going, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with me, there's something wrong with me, you're attacking your own energy field. You're attacking your own solar plexus chakra, because a person who thinks there's something wrong with them, their emotions are completely out of control. That means your solar plexus chakra is not healthy. So you are hurting yourself all day long. And unfortunately, that's what we call raising a human being. We introduce guilt and shame, and we know they'll course correct for the rest of their life, because as long as they feel guilty, they're a good human. No, my friend, as long as you feel guilty, you are a continuously punishing yourself human. You are a self-abusive human. A human is somebody who can realize their power to create, to be. A human has so much power that one human being fully activated can transform the whole earth, all the billions of people in it. That is what a human is. Human that is feeling guilty is not really at that level. That is a human that is stuck in darkness. So if you take pride in your ability to feel guilty when you do something wrong, let me just shatter your bubble, my friend, you've been abusing yourself. So you might say, okay, Alia, what else can I do? So I want to introduce a spiritual concept. Um, I'm not sure if you can call it spiritual law, because it's more like a spiritual principle. There's nothing you can ever do wrong. And I know if you live with that concept, this is right, this is wrong, this is just going to blow your mind, and you might even maybe check out at this point that, okay, Alia is teaching me something that is just way out there. So let's explore, what does it mean there's nothing you could ever do wrong? Let's say you're standing at the fork on the road and you go right. That's one option. Or you can go left. That is the other option. What happens in our human experience? We sit at the crossroad and we're like, let me use my logical mind. Let me ask all the other people for their opinion. and let me calculate the pros and cons. And based on that, I think right is the best option I can take. My friend, there's no best option. If you go right, the way the universe is set up, everything is going to rearrange itself and it's going to set you up in the direction where you get to your destination. For us, for a human soul to exist, our destination is to eventually realize we are one with God. However, we get there. If you go left, the whole universe course correct and rearranges itself so you can get to that destination. Now you'll be like, well, wait a minute. What about the investment in the stock market? What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? We are talking about your soul purpose. Guilt and shame is tied to that. But if you want to bring it to your day-to-day, very physical activities, even when you lose money in stock market, if you feel it must be good for me, there's nothing I can ever do wrong, that elevated emotion is going to bring another opportunity in your life where you'll make way more money than you could have in the stock market. Because when we start living according to these spiritual principles, we are not living in this competitive field anymore. We go above in our vibration and we start living in the creative field where you get to control where your life is going. But in that plane, if you want to get to that plane, there's no guilt and there's no shame. And that is when you get to experience divine guidance. When you are stuck in, there's something wrong with me, that's why I keep doing things wrong, why do I keep doing things wrong? You're disconnected from divine guidance. My friend, getting disconnected from divine guidance is like, being lost in the forest without a GPS. How long will it take you to find a way out? That is how most of us are living. We are so attached to, I need to do the right thing. I don't want to do the wrong thing. While in the universe, there's no right thing, there's no wrong thing. No matter where you go, if you let yourself be, you can hear that divine guidance. You don't need to ask 1,000 people for their opinion. You don't need to ponder over something. You don't need to take many years to make a decision. You can make it in a split second if you are connected to that divine guidance. And you get to that level when you stop living in guilt. Again, what is guilt? I did something wrong. So repeat to yourself, there's nothing I can ever do wrong. There's nothing I can ever do wrong. Now, I know what might happen in your mind, and you'd be like, well, then what about the social responsibility? What about like I'm supposed to be like this with other people? I'm supposed to be like that with other people, and this way I'll go rogue and I'll become crazy. That is you not having trust in your own divinity. When we stop controlling and manipulating ourselves, you would realize you will start living on your nature, and your nature is divine, and you are love and light. And you're going to start treating other people with utmost respect, trust, and love. And you will also start realizing they are just who you are. You and them are one. You don't need to make anybody else wrong so you can be right, and you don't need to be right to make other people wrong. You start to live in a different way. Another layer I want to add here, because a lot of guilt and shame goes between family members, whether it's, between parents and child or between siblings, it goes a lot around in that area. When we think we are responsible for how other people feel, that is when we feel guilty that, oh my God, I upsetted that person. I shouldn't have. No, I did that wrong. The truth is, you can never be responsible for another person. You can become responsible to other people. Now, what is responsible for and responsible to? Responsible for is you take the burden, full load of that person, and you carry it. You can only be responsible for yourself for the rest of your life. And that is why my specialty is your relationship with yourself. And that is all I teach you about. Um, the other person you can be responsible for is your child from the moment that they are born till they get to a certain age, and then you're supposed to hand over the responsibility to them depending on what is your parenting style. A time is supposed to come somewhere in their teenage years where they become 100% responsible for themselves, where you stop carrying the burden for them, where you allow them to be whoever they need to be, whoever they want to be. And everybody else, you're only responsible to them. What responsible to is you show up and you be whoever you need to be for them, to support them, to hold space for them. But do not try to fix them, change them, hold yourself responsible for how they are feeling. Get used to witnessing people in their process. And it might be very painful as a family member, as you see your loved one going through that process, but that is the most loving thing you can do for them, is witness them going through their painful process, and do not try to play with it, change it, try to teach them how to be safe, try to teach them how to be in control, because all that stuff belongs to you. Keep your junk with you. Do not project it on other people, especially the people that you love, and do not allow them to do the same thing to you. When you're going through something, when you're going through your process, your loved one will come to you. They'll try to tell you all about you're supposed to feel guilty about this and this and that. Witness it, witness them going through that process, witness yourself going through that process. Do not let them be responsible for how you feel. When you start taking responsibility for how you feel, it will be easier for you to allow other people to feel whatever they need to feel. But make sure you stay responsible to yourself. You stay in alignment with your divine nature, which is love and light for everybody, not just for yourself, not just the people you love, also the people you maybe don't love right now, for everybody. And that is when you stay connected to divine guidance and know if what you so called is a mistake is not really a mistake. It's just you are going to your destination through that route. When you will compare it to other people, it will feel like a mistake because you cannot see the process that they are going through. So stay focused on where you're headed, what you're going through, and you will stay away from guilt. Guilt will come. It will want to visit you. It will want to play with you. Do not engage with it. When guilt comes and it's like going on and on and on, focus on something else that you love in your life, something that you love about yourself, something that you love about the situation. Now, let's get into healing shame. Shame is there's something wrong with me. Shame attacks your own foundation. When we have convinced ourselves there's something wrong with us, can we even get access to our divine light? No, we feel useless. That is when we have let go of our divine worth. And if a human has let go of their divine worth, I don't know like how good they can be for sharing their light, even getting access to it. So that is the stuff that is the darkness that we get attached to going through this physical experience, and it requires healing that, transforming it to your light to even get access to the light that is within you. And the spiritual principle that I would like to introduce to heal that there is nothing wrong with you, my friend. Even if you look at yourself and you're like, look at my face, it's crooked. Look at my teeth, look at my hands, look at my feet, look at the way my body is. I am this size and I want to be this size. Again, let me repeat, there's nothing wrong with you. This is a very deep level of acceptance that there is nothing wrong with you. Just to share a little bit, since I got into the physicality of things, your soul chooses the kind of body it needs to come into because the way your body looks has the blueprint to the purpose of your soul. Now, this is a study that I have done for my own personal growth. I am not allowed to share with other people, but I can share the concept with you. So the way your eyes are, they can tell what you came here to do in this world. The color of your hair choose what you came here to do, what characteristics you naturally have, and what are the characteristics you will have to work on. In this lifetime. So that's why some of us, we are born in part of the world where people have black hair, and some of us are born in the world part of the world where people have red hair, because that determines what you're here to do. Everything on your face, the way your nose is, the way your ears are, the way your chin is, your cheeks are, the way your hands are, like not just the palm of your hand. We know that palmistry is a whole science that exists. I'm talking about down to the point of how the shape of your nail is too. What are the sizes of your fingers here? All of that is connected to the soul knew what it's coming to do here, and it needed exactly that body to come into. And people who have studied that knowledge, I have just done it at the self-help level, but people who have deeply studied it, they can look at a person and their life is transparent in front of them, where they've been to, where they are now, and where they are headed. So do not take your appearance or how you look that there's something wrong with you. No, my friend, your soul chose to come in that body because it's tied to where you are going. And for soul, there's only one thing that's important: where I am going on my spiritual path, on the path of sharing my light. It doesn't care that, right now what size pants are in fashion, and what kind of cut and fit is in fashion, and you're supposed to be looking like that. That all belongs to the elusive world that we live in. Soul doesn't care about that. So when you start to introduce that there's nothing wrong with me, I've been designed, I've been created with perfection. Somebody chose this costume that I call body. Somebody maybe looked at thousands and thousands and millions and billions of costumes and chose this very exact one. And I'm wearing that right now. Same goes to the characteristics that you have. You might think you're a very lazy person. Well, that is the kind of darkness your soul wanted to have, so it can work on it and transform it into light. And then it can share that light with other people. So even the things you hate about yourself at the level of your character are um very precisely, they've been selected and they've been put within you so you can transform them. Now, where we want to become proactive, we are not saying like just accept yourself, lay down and be lazy and don't do anything to change anything within you. We're talking about living proactive life. Look at your life and see, what would you like to change about your personality, about the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you handle things. What is it that you would like to change proactively? And then use your inner power to create that change. And if those are the skills that you want to learn and you want to master, you can always reach out to me. You can find another expert to guide you on that journey. But that is what we do instead of feeling guilt and shame. Instead of saying there's something wrong with me, I do all the wrong things. No, my friend, you do all the perfect things. You just don't know why you are doing them. You just don't understand why you've been living the way you've been living. And once you understand that, that is when you can truly transform the darkness into light. And that is where you can truly allow yourself to be who you came here to be. Now, just a little bit about guilt and shame that other people will invite in your life. Anytime guilt and shame is rubbed in your face, or it comes in your face, or you're being told, hey, you're wrong, and you better know that you're wrong, and I'm right, and I want you to feel bad for being wrong. When those kind of scenario situation come in your life, Make a commitment with yourself right now and know why you are making that commitment. Don't make that commitment just because I gave you this, 30-minute spiel. Dig deeper within you. Why is it important for you to live without guilt and shame? Why is it important for you to live on purpose? Why is it important for you to not keep abusing yourself? Why is it important for you that you want to be that tiny particle in this whole existence that transformed that darkness of guilt and shame into light and transform it into acceptance and loving yourself, unconditional love for yourself, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, tapping into that ability to accept yourself at that deeper level. Why is that important to you? And once you get your answer, then make a promise with yourself. I will not engage or play with guilt or shame. What does that actually mean? I am not going to allow myself, someone else, or a situation dictate whether I am right or wrong, or whether there's something right with me or there's something wrong with me. Whoever I am perfect. And I can improve from that place. I can expand and become more of who I came here to be without making myself feel wrong. So now, next time, when let's say you hit your car somewhere and you just want to curse yourself and you just want to say, I am so stupid. Why do I keep making this mistake? What is wrong with me? That would be your natural way of being at this point with the kind of conditioning we all have received. In that moment, can you pause and you say, oh, I think I was meant to have this accident. This must be good for me because I'm experiencing it because it's part of my experience right now. It must be good for me. It must be the direction I was supposed to go. How would you feel then? Wouldn't it feel so different? Wouldn't it feel so light? Wouldn't it feel like a way of existing in this world where you can just take a deep breath, where you can just exhale? Because most of us know how to inhale and then we just holding tight. We're holding tight, and that's how we create so much stress in our life. How about you allow yourself to make mistakes? And they are not mistakes, but allow yourself to take risk. Allow yourself to do something that looks so crazy in other people's eyes because you're leading with trust, because you are connected to a part of you that no one else can see. How would that feel? So with that, I'm inviting you to heal this wound of guilt and shame, not just within you, but in your lineage, and allow yourself to live with that kind of lightness and joy and love. And if this is something you want to go deeper into and you really want to work through it and you really want to get to that level of existence where you don't have to play with guilt and shame anymore, you can always reach out to me, DM me. You can go to my website, aliajamalcoaching.com, and I would love to be your guide on this journey where you get to live without any guilt and without any shame. Before we end, I just want to add this little bit of personal aspect to it. There was a time I felt a lot of guilt, especially after going through divorce. I felt a lot of guilt for being the home breaker, the way it's labeled. um, that voice was talking to me internally, that voice was talking to me physically from outside through other people, that voice was coming through so many different messages. It always kept coming to me. It took me a year to heal that guilt and shame. But once I did, the kind of freedom it introduced in my inner world and who I get to be from that very expensive place has really been worth the journey that I took. And I would tell you, even now, once in a while, maybe every 4 or 5 months or so, guilt comes. It comes through other people. Somebody would say something to me, and by practice, I know not to engage with it because I know the kind of psychological damage it can done to my inner world. Even if I open a tiny window to look at it, it's going to get in, it's going to create all kind of chaos. So I guard myself against that. When I see guilt and shame, I know very well that now this person wants to control and manipulate me. I let go of controlling and manipulating myself, and very cautiously, I watch my psychology every single day, my thought process. Am I trying to control and manipulate myself, or am I allowing myself to be? So the more I have done that for me, now it's easier for me to not let other people do that to me. I just had an experience yesterday with one of my loved one who wanted to invite some of their darkness into my life. And I had to create a boundary, and I had to say, hey, I don't live that way. I stopped living that way. It felt so good to say that I don't live that way anymore. And my prayer, my wish, my desire for all of you is that you get to experience how it is to live without feeling guilt and shame. With that, we are concluding our today's love circle, and I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.